cents a kilowatt hour. Okay, it's the cheapest one. Okay, the problem is we haven't built any new ones in the United States in 30 years, and so we're guessing what it's going to cost me in the future. I don't know. Okay, it is true that France made the decision to go nuclear. More importantly, France made the decision to go nuclear in a common reactor too. Okay, so if there's problems, they fix it once, they've got them all fixed, not 50 million different ones. Okay, so there's no question, I don't dispute about that. Okay, in the United States, we just haven't built new ones. Okay, and the existing ones that are operating are cheaper. That's true. Okay, it's still cheaper to do the efficiency thing than to make power in the first place. Okay, now in the case of solar energy, as I've hinted to you before, though, PV will never replace nuclear power plants. Okay, a nuclear power plant is a very large power plant that produces energy 24 hours a day. It's a base load power plant, as is the big coal plants. Okay, now the nice thing about coal, you could argue, is the U.S. has it. Okay, so we could do it real clean. Okay, maybe that's not so bad. Okay, but we got to argue about all that. But those are big base load power plants. The problem is human beings don't use electricity at constant rates. Here in Florida, we really turn on the juice at around 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So the power plant company doesn't build a nuclear power plant that meets the peaks. It meets the bottom part. And then it has to add on little power plants that it turns on and off. And so in the case of PV or wind, we will more than likely use those to compete against the power plants that the utility only runs for 4 or 5 hours. These are like oil or natural gas plants. They turn on for 4 hours and then turn off. And those actually cost the utility more money than what they sell electricity at. So believe it or not, we'll get to the point where the utilities will go this route. Okay? So you're not going to have solar provide all the electricity in Florida because it doesn't make any at night. Okay? And storage is an issue, and that's a separate thing too. So there's balances in all this thing. I won't dispute she's paying more money. She should be. And now the question is, why is she? And I don't know the answer to that. Because clearly, if everybody in Spain was paying 300% more, there'd be revolt.
Well, they did. And they did.
Well, Spain's still doing pretty well. And we can argue about the economy and a few things. So I don't know how the policy works. Gainesville Regional Utility up here in Gainesville has just recently done a feed-in tariff. There are different models, and they all do them right. They've made mistakes on a bunch of them. But
what do you think about the turbines?
Gas turbines or wind turbines?
Wind turbines.
Wind is great. Texas has really good wind resources. We just don't have it here in Florida. Florida Power and Light owns 43% of all wind throughout the United States. It's headquartered in Florida. They don't own any wind in Florida. Okay? Because I put a wind turbine. It cost me $1 million to build one here in Florida, and it only produces half the electricity in Texas. So Florida Power and Light is going to build it in Texas. Keep building it in Texas. Florida Power and Light doesn't care whether they're Florida electrons. They just sell electrons.
But it comes back to Florida?
Yeah, it can. FPL owns it. They just own it in Texas. Okay? Now, the problem that I have with that is that when you buy those electrons, you ship your money to Texas. Okay? So, wind just isn't a good resource. Maybe out on the coast it will be. Okay? But the questions you guys are bringing up here is that you have to balance this all out. You've got to know all the information. You've got to add this all up. And in a way, we kind of sort of assumed the utilities were doing it right for us, okay? Now we're starting to realize, well, wait a minute, we the citizens, government, whatever, need to be more involved in energy policy. And we set it up so the nuclear power, we set up for the utilities. The primary goal is least cost and reliable. I want least cost reliable, and I want to keep all the money in the state of Florida. Yeah, I want to keep the money in the state of Florida. And if I had a choice between FPL making profit or me making profit, I'll choose my pocket first, too. So we can go through all those issues, okay? But that's not how we compare things. Let me throw a different analogy out for you. If a salad bowl made in China out of plastic magically looked the same thing as the salad bowl made out of Florida wood, which would you buy? It depends on the price. This is what gets tough about it. The Chinese salad bowl is $1, and the Florida one's $4. You might buy the $1. Now, our whole economy, all of Florida, not just your pocket, might be better off if you spent $4 on the Florida salad bowl. All the money stays here. And we use natural resources in Florida, and I didn't use up any oil. I kept all the money in Florida. The state of Florida's got more money. And you've got a more expensive salad bowl. But you see what I'm getting at? We tend to think about this thing about in minus out. And the problem we've got in America is that in minus out now is a negative number, okay, which we're losing money. What I'd like you to be doing is accumulating though. I'd like you to minimize your in minus out, okay? And I'd like you not to buy assets that depreciate. In theory, homes don't depreciate, evidently, but that's the idea. Television sets come and go, okay? It's just we're just not used to that, okay? And we've got to change some of that mindset. So all this stuff gets complicated. Now,
Can we,
finish up quick? Yeah. Here's the map of the United States. You were asking me different places doing different things. Green is good. White isn't so good. Florida's getting better. Okay. And okay, the price of PV. Quick thing on the jobs. Most of the jobs are actually an installation of things. So we put PV on everybody's roof in Florida. It creates way more jobs than if we build a power plant. What's the value of that? We don't include that in the equation. You only care that your electricity costs are the cheapest. Well, the cost of unemployment to society is a legitimate cost. It's not included in the equations either. Things to think about when people get going. Okay, education, training, questions. Okay. So,
Yes.
okay.
We
Thank you.
want to thank Dr. Fenton for bringing us this wonderful, fascinating information. What we're going to do is a little slight change in program. If you wanted to kind of, no.